So you saw the Delta Pro on store shelves, picked it up, thought it was pretty neat, and you want to take it to the next level. Well, unlike a lot of other companies, Dart Zone has you covered with their own dedicated upgrade kit for the Delta Pro that you could buy off their website, because maybe that kit makes this thing a little too spicy to put it directly on store shelves. Or maybe they just don't want to encourage people on the box to open up their blaster and tinker with it. And if you want to see how the Delta Pro performs out of the box completely bone stock, make sure you check out the card in the top right corner where I go over the original stock blaster. This is the upgrade. And this is that kit. This is everything that comes with it, with a QR code right here that leads you exactly to their instructions to show you how to install this thing. It is a relatively simple install, but there is quite a few different things in this kit that we should talk about. So let's unseal it, and the first thing being this spring. This looks to me like the same upgrade spring, almost the max level, I can't compress that at all, that you would find for the Striker 2.0 and the Nexus Pro X or Nexus Pro X2. It is like double the length of the spring that's normally inside the Delta Pro. Up next, we've got a barrel. It's like 2 inches long.
Dang, oh, it's so small, I can't even find it.
I guess it is metal. Maybe that's a requirement. That's weird. It could be better, I guess. Then we've got a new spring rest, which is very large, and an N-Strike stock compatible attachment point buffer tube that is meant to have all this go inside of it, secure to your blaster, and make it hit a lot harder with a much heavier spring and give you a stock to kind of brace it somewhere, I guess. I'm not sure if the whole stock is meant to actually just let you use a buffer tube or if it's meant to contain this spring. I'm willing to guess it's spring first, ergonomics second. And also some hardware and some brass fittings. So all this stuff will allow you to firmly secure this thing on there, because the spring alone and like the normal N-Strike stuff, that's not gonna hold on this level of power. So hardware is required to put this in and make sure it stays on there, it doesn't blow apart the first time you prime it. Take your phone, hit your camera button, scan the QR code on the package, and that will take us right to a YouTube video that is unlisted that has, about 191 views already, that shows you exactly how this goes together. And I can already see it's gonna be a very simple install. So first things first, we're going to remove this plastic cylinder. Not gonna need those pieces again. We're going to push this in, twist it, and pull out the original spring rest and the spring. You can see how much shorter the stock spring is compared to the upgrade spring. Next up, we gotta take our little bag of hardware here and put in these inserts that will friction fit into the holes on the blaster and give the screws something to bite into. Take our brass insert, put it in that hole right there, and push it in. It may be a little bit difficult, so use something metal to firmly and evenly until it's flush with the rest of the stock mount, and do it again for the other side. This does take a little bit of force, but it is an ages 14 and up blaster, so. There we go, easy peasy, both flush. This will allow you to also still use a normal stock, obviously, and you can go back to your original spring with those in it. That doesn't affect it in any way. Next, we take this big boy, put that in there, push this down. It will clip in because these are still the same spring-loaded catches that you would find on normal Nerf stocks. With the exception being now we need to put in these screws on both sides. Oh, darn it. Haha, found it! That is secure. That prime is massive. And now how do we install the barrel? Interesting, so it's held in by a single screw right here. We'll just remove that screw, and now our barrel is supposed to just come out kind of like that. It should just pop free with the grooves being towards the actual cylinder on the blaster, which you will find on the metal barrel. So, not sure how much of an upgrade this actually is, to be honest. And also, it's still incredibly short. I feel like it could have used a longer barrel with this kind of spring load, but again, grooves, put that in like that, push it in until it clicks, and then we'll secure it with that Phillips head screw. And just like that, we're basically done. This buffer tube will work on stock Nerf blasters and give you the ability to use a buffer tube stock if you choose. However, once this is installed like this, you can't use a standard Nerf stock anymore. You need to use a buffer tube stock like the one that comes with the Adventure Force Axis Switch Pro that'll work just fine. It is multi-positional and locking, but you can also use straight up just a buffer tube stock, which these ones are usually a little more difficult to put on there, but there we go. It locks into place, and that is a much comfier blaster to use, and you're gonna want a stock because that prime, it's smooth. That was remarkably smooth, but it is a lot more strenuous than the stock prime. Here's a random dart. Yeah, I wonder how hard that's actually hitting, because that is positively monstrous. You know, I really thought I'd hate that prime more. It's not that bad, especially with the stock on there. That's totally usable. Question is, how much did we actually increase the performance? Putting the Adventure Force Delta Pro, now that it's upgraded over the chronograph, we got a new high velocity of around mid 160 feet per second. That's a good 30-35 FPS more than the stock version with just this spring upgrade. And those increased velocities did lead to a slight range increase when we took it outside and did a distance test. It's not massive. The highest shot admittedly bounced to about 120 feet flat, but it is a pretty good increase over the stock Delta Pro. Finally, we moved to the indoor target test where I did all of my testing with a B car since this is no longer a stock blaster. I also used a red dot to give me a point of reference when I'm aiming, and sadly I have to report that it's not very consistent when it comes to accuracy. Yes, it did do a sizable improvement over the stock variant, but personally I found consistently that my shots would vary wildly even though the point of reference was in the same spot. That tells me that this dart is being destabilized when firing, perhaps because there's too much air pressure for that dart when it's exiting the barrel. The B car does help with that because it has holes that will vent off some of that air pressure, but the darts are still not being very consistent. There's also this. That's probably not great for it either. The Prime is honestly a lot smoother than you could probably give it credit for. It seems like it's very tough, and it is, but it's smooth. So it doesn't feel bad to use even with that spring upgrade. Which brings us to the conclusion on this blaster. This is a pretty inexpensive blaster, and if you throw in the upgrade kit, that jumps the price up pretty considerably. You do get the buffer tube stock, you do get a performance increase, and you can really max out your starter pistol if you choose to go this route with a war-worthy primary blaster that might not be mag-fed and might not have slam fire or anything like that, but can still fill that role and be fun while doing it. But there's a couple of glaring flaws. One, the destabilization of the darts. I feel like the barrel wasn't long enough. I think that might be the problem, and with those specific cutout grooves and stuff on the barrel, I don't even know if those are required or not. It might be really hard to source a better barrel, or maybe Dart Zone already figured that out and they chose the most optimum barrel this was, but let's face it, that barrel was the exact same length of the stock barrel, just aluminum. And with a longer barrel, this thing might have a higher velocity because that means you have more barrel length to use more of the air pressure that you're now generating from that massive spring. With this new setup also giving you the option to test a bunch of different springs you might already have because this length is standard for a lot of blasters in the hobby. Again, just like the Nexus Pro X, X2, and the Striker 2.0. And that revolver setup is incredibly intuitive and easy to use. So this is a great blaster for beginners, and you don't have to worry about mags or mag economy or anything like that. It's just ready to go, and now you can slap a whole bunch of fun stuff on it and get a lot better use out of your blaster. The main problem I have against this kit, despite the fact that it's only available on Dart Zone's website, is that shipping is more expensive than the kit. I think the kit runs you like $12, $13, maybe $15. It will go on sale. They have sales all the time on their website. But the shipping was $12, which meant if I was just buying this kit, which is what happened, I was paying about $25 for these parts, which isn't exactly Dart Zone's fault, but that does sting a little bit. And that does affect my recommendation of whether you should get this kit or not. I do think there's still room for this to grow. I think there's a lot more this blaster is capable of, and I don't know if specifically this kit is a requirement when there's probably a good amount of 3D printed parts that could accomplish the same thing, if not better. I wouldn't be surprised if this blaster is capable of 200+ feet per second velocities with the same smooth prime. And if we can get a little bit more consistency with the accuracy on this thing, I think it has a bright future, especially if you're a fan of the blaster from the get-go. But for the money you're dumping into this thing, let's say you go the exact same route I did. You bought a $14 blaster, you spent $20, $25 on the kit. Well, at that point, you could go out and buy a Nexus Pro X too. Or a number of other options of blasters and get similar performance, if not better performance, with a lot more room to grow than this thing does. And that's where my recommendation lies. If you want just this blaster and all the stuff to go with it, it's not a great idea, it's not a terrible one, you can still have a lot of fun with it if you like it, power to you. You don't have to follow a meta or anything like that. That being said, there's a lot of other options out there that you could buy for the same price that would give you far more effectiveness on the field if that is your goal. I still think it's a really fun blaster, and honestly, I'm gonna keep it around in this configuration because I already went through the time and effort of modifying it. And if there's more cool stuff in the future, you'll likely see another video on it because I still think there's a lot of untapped potential in the Adventure Force Delta Pro.